Hey guys, Alex and Dan from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Almost forgot what we were watching for a second. I think I was literally about to say Better Call Saul, but that's not right.
They all do kind of run together at some point.
Yeah. Last time around, we started off The Monster of Peladon. What was that one about?
Well, we've gone back to Peladon, and it's about 50 years later. The old king has passed away. His daughter is now the queen. The Federation has come in to mine whatever it was they were looking for in the first place.
Yeah.
But it appears that there is some kind of class struggle between the miners, who seem to represent the lower class, and the Chancellor, who's just as bad as the Chancellor in the first series. And Alpha Centauri is back, looking a little bit better than she did the last time.
Yeah.
They keep calling it a him, but he has a very feminine type voice.
I thought they said in the first serial that Alpha Centauri was a hermaphrodite, but it can't
Could be.
But they keep saying he anyway, so.
And the monster itself, Agador?
Yeah.
Agador, seems to be back, and yet it seems to be in some kind of holographic form, so the Doctor is very suspicious. So he's trying to head off a war between, basically a civil war between the lower classes and the upper classes. Sarah Jane is trying to teach the Queen about women's lib, and if I recall correctly, right at the very end, it turns out that they had seen some kind of shadowy figure that they couldn't figure out who it was, and the Doctor manages to open up the thing, and of all things, it's the Ice Warriors.
Yes. Yeah, because they were going to... Alpha Centauri sent for Federation troops, and so... Despite the fact that there is a huge dispute and almost a civil war going on, everybody has to sort of, dust themselves off and clean up and, look good for the boss when they arrive. And the troops that we heard were the Ice Warriors, but then, we have that reveal at the end. So maybe there's some sort of a plot going on. There's also Eckersley, who's kind of shady, the engineer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're not quite sure about him because at some points he seemed to be helping the Doctor and Sarah Jane, and other points he seemed to be somewhat sketchy.
Yeah, so while I think there are there's 8 different conflicts going on, because there's the miners who don't want the Federation because it will incur the wrath of Agador, but there's also Gebek who speaks, well, we should do some of this stuff, but I have to look out for my people. You have the upper classes with Ortron, but then you have the Queen who's trying to be more lenient, trying to fix things. You have the Doctor and Sarah Jane. You have Alpha Centauri freaking out at every possible second. You have Eckersley who wants to get all the, I think it's trisilicate that they said, and that can possibly lead into the Ice Warriors, and maybe that's where the hologram of Agador is showing up.
Because the hologram seems to emit some kind of beam that literally vaporizes people.
Yes.
And other things, because they go through a wall at one point with it.
Yeah, I think so. So, it's a whole lot of stuff. It's a whole lot of stuff on this one. Yeah. So, yeah, and I guess that's pretty much all the recap we can give. So, we should just go ahead and see what's going on in this episode of Doctor Who Classic. Here we go.
This planet is now under martial law. The girl brought... You say that the miners have rebelled against their proper
Got a very
rulers.
Darth Vader cape on. I don't remember him ever having a cape before.
Well.
Until the miners return to work, a number of selected hostages will be executed each day.
That's very similar to Hernando de Soto when he was looking for gold in North America.
Once Quebec is safe, we give the Federation an ultimatum.
I wish when they had showed up they had said this planet is under Martian law.
Agreed. As you say, it has been only when Quebec is safe.
It's interesting that the Ice Warrior Commander doesn't speak with the sibilant S like the others do.
Yeah.
Doesn't have that kind of raspy voice.
Yeah.
We will never allow that, Commander.
That's right, Your Majesty. And if you try, every man, woman, and child on Peladon will oppose you to the death. You shall not drop Peladon while a living soul remains to defend it.
You see how they unite against you, Commander?
It's like Independence Day.
It's no easy job holding down a hostile planet. I just wanted you to see what you were up against. Thank you, Commander Isaacsia.
Well, now he's being a little more snaky.
We should
Well.
prefer... Give it! Come with us! Destroy them!
Whoa.
Ooh.
We will be revenged.
By the sons of Warban.
Boy, once you get to episode 4, the plot always changes dramatically.
Doctor. An ambassador here on Peladon, I am the law.
Judge Dredd. I am the law.
You betray the law! Ortron and I are agreed. From the death of the first hostage, it will be war.
Our people would sooner die than be enslaved.
Well, it's nice to see the Peladonians all on the same side for once.
Friends, I'm one of you. I always have been. And believe
Friends,
me,
Peladonians, countrymen. Lend me your...
You
think they have ears?
Somewhere in there.
You remember how we cooperated over the Federation Armory? How we cooperated over the Sonic Lance? Well, that is the kind of cooperation we are now going to give Commander Azaxia. Are you with me?
What a speech.
See, it's a trick. Gabrick's got a plan.
Yes, he's betrayed us. He's gone onto their side.
Ah, come on, man.
She will tell no one.
I think things should be heating up nicely now.
Is there a level past Extremis? Because Edis has really fallen there.
We have a saying on Peladon. If you can't stand the heat, keep out of the mine.
Come here a minute. Look, see what's going on down in the mines.
This guy's smaller. Oh, bye.
What do we do when they're all down the mines?
We'll lead a party of Pels back up here and recapture the Citadel.
Ah, quite the little Napoleon, huh?
Ooh.
Don't have to dismember him. You gonna make Ice Warrior sushi or something?
The Peladonians are fighting the Metis. Soldiers and miners together. And they're winning. I don't believe you.
Such a wild-eyed fanatic.
Ah. Oh, he hasn't had a sword fight in a while.
Much better than the one with the master.
I'm surprised, though, that the miners can use these weapons.
Come on, this is pointless.
You can knock him out.
You're right.
They're really hiding the stunt actor's face. Ooh! Oh, he exploded. Yeesh.
Now, I actually thought in some of that sequence that was actually Pertwee doing the flip over and everything. So
Maybe. It was in that last shot
Yeah.
that you just didn't see his face all, and I think his hair was a little bit too poofy for John Pertwee. But yeah, most of that was pretty good. So
well, definitely an action-packed episode.
yeah,
But again, like you said, very similar. It takes an outside enemy, an interloper, to get all the Peladonians to come together and fight them.
yeah, pretty much. Which is interesting.
And we still don't know whose side Eckersley is on.
Yeah. I would almost say he may just be sort of innocent. He's just trying to do his job, get the Trisilicate for the Federation, whereas Commander
Azaxir.
it took me a while to figure out how to spell that. Commander Azaxir is, he's trying to do this for his own glory, and I guess if he has all of that, maybe he could take over the Federation with that, because they said it powers all their technology and stuff. So, which again, very much the plot of Dune, I believe, is whoever controls the world of the spice pretty much controls the universe. Yeah. Which, I've had someone try to explain the plot of Dune. It makes no sense when it's explained. So, but I digress. Anyway. So yeah, I mean, we have the whole unity thing, but then we also have Edis, which that's interesting. Not because it's interesting just having you have one miner who does want to restore peace, though he is thinking about the conditions of his workers and stuff. But then you have the other one who just goes to the extreme and stuff. It almost reminds me of not the last Dalek episode, but the one before that. Was that Planet of the Daleks?
Could be.
Yeah. Whereas there was the one sort of overzealous one who tried to blow up the Daleks every time.
Yeah.
So it kind of reminds me of that. But then you get to this episode, and Edis has just gone completely insane. Yeah. Just thinking everyone is a traitor and stuff, and willing to, blow up the entire Citadel and stuff. And I mean, we said, oh, he's basically a terrorist. I mean, that's blowing up something like that.
Yeah, he's a zealot now. He's come to the point where he says, none of this matters anymore, except, and he's not even getting revenge. He just wants to shut down everybody. So he's willing to kill not only the Ice Warriors, but all the rest of the miners and the Queen and everybody else. Which it's like you have to destroy the world in order to save it. That makes no sense. But again, that's what these people think. Yeah,
it's not the greatest line of logic, but they're not in the greatest mental space right now. So, but I do like just having all of these different sides. They are now uniting because now we have the Ice Warriors to deal with. So yeah, all that's very interesting. And we did speculate, last episode, is Ortron maybe kind of working for the Federation or something like that? I think there was something while he wants the Federation to go away, it would be better if, they just leave with the Trisilica or something like that. But now it seems like, no, all of Peladon is now against the Federation. Yeah. So...
yeah, that hair seemed a little less like his own there.
Yeah.
But I would swear at the point where he gets flipped over, the judo flip there, that was him. Nope, that's not him.
That's a different guy.
Yeah, that's not him.
Yeah.
The hair's wrong.
Look, I'm sorry about the doctor, believe me, but he should never have got involved in local politics. And I'm not making the same mistake.
Skell, take her to the throne.
I mean,
and keep her.
what is this situation if not local politics? That you're all in.
I still can't believe it. I can't believe that he's dead. You see, he was the most alive person I ever met.
Well, perhaps he escaped.
He was alive.
Your Majesty, I have just had an exhausting meeting with Commander Azaxia, discussing his plans for his future rule of this planet.
Wonder who was more exhausted in that
Thalira
meeting.
rules Peladon.
In name only from now on. Azaxia plans an extension of martial law over the entire planet.
Our escaping, Your Majesty.
Yes, Ultron. We intend to join our people in the mines.
Your Majesty, I forbid it.
What would you have me do, Ultron? Stay here to become a puppet queen for Commander Azaxia? See my people made slaves?
Majesty,
Very similar to the original Queen Elizabeth.
we shall assist you in your escape.
Actually went down to the beach to wait for the Spanish Armada.
Back, Your Majesty!
Aww.
Ultron!
Oh, maybe he's still alive. Maybe he had a pocket watch that blocked most of it.
Didn't that door open outward the last time?
Maybe.
But I see no further need for this masquerade, Eckersley.
Well, I do. We agreed. Until we succeeded, I stay under cover.
But this planet is almost ours.
Almost isn't quite good enough. Things could still go wrong.
Oh, is he the mastermind?
Guard refinery.
It's interesting they've got skinnier Ice Warriors, too.
Don't shoot! No!
Good plan.
Don't you ever stay out of trouble?
My dear Sarah, there's nothing I like more than a quiet life. If you'll excuse me, I've got something very important to do in a very short space of time. Look, can you get
He
him out
just
of
wants
the
to live quietly. Poor actor being dragged around in that thing. Nope, there you go.
They have a fringe of hair around their necks now.
A bit, yeah.
But the Ice Warriors have been loyal members of the Federation for many years.
Azixia is head of some kind of breakaway group. He wants to return to the good old days of death or glory.
It's good to know that not all Ice Warriors are evil again.
There's a whole crowd of them out there now.
Alrighty. Well, now we have the answer on Eckersley.
Took 5 episodes, and that's good writing.
Yeah. You will rule over Earth. Take it from the Master, that doesn't work. That just does not work. Also, kind of a backwater planet to rule over once you're the richest man. But then again, I guess, I don't know, it's... Maybe Earth is like some nice ranch in the country field where you can rule with your riches. I don't know.
Yeah. Ask Salamander about that.
Yeah, so... But yeah, interesting stuff. And again, I'm glad that it's not all Ice Warriors, basically.
Yeah.
So, he's just one of those... Which, again, that's very Klingon, too. Where, like, especially, like, once you get into Next Gen, and it's like... Well, the Klingons, yeah, they're still kind of brutes, but they're our friends now. You know, we're all good. And sometimes, I think there's, like, an episode in Season 1 of Next Gen where it's like... There's essentially just, terrorists. Kind of like... Azixir here, where it's like, well, we just want to go and kill people. They didn't really have a specific goal. They were just going to go kill people, and they tried to persuade Worf. And I think the interesting thing about that episode is, like, it's still early on in Next Gen, so you're like, will Worf do that? I don't know. I mean, he's a Klingon, so... But then, obviously, he doesn't go through with it, so... So, yeah, interesting stuff. I am still, though, wondering, is this the only planet that has trisilicate?
Well, I thought they had mentioned that early on, that this was one of the, like, maybe one of the few sources of it.
Yeah, so... yeah, so it's interesting. Again, very much Dune-like, with the spice and stuff. So... Man, I hope Ortron's okay. Because honestly, it's a very unceremonious death for a major character like that. So... Alrighty.
And again, very, very good writing. It has a lot of different elements to it, and yet it's very fast moving.
Yeah.
So, congratulations to Brian Hale.
Yeah.
Hale or Hales?
I think it's Hales.
Hales, yeah.
Yeah.
And to the director for keeping it all going.
Yeah, definitely. This is probably one of the... I mean, what have we had this season? We've had Death to the Daleks, and then Invasion of the Dinosaurs, and then before that was the Time Warrior.
This is the best one since the Time Warrior.
Yeah, definitely. So, everything's nice and snappy. So... The Ice Warriors also seem a lot more green this time around.
Is this the first time we've actually seen them in color?
No, because there was the last Peladon episode that they were in. But I think, and maybe it's just the lighting, but they seemed a bit darker back then. Well, I'm out of here. I never realized how much Agador kind of has the same body structure as Godzilla. What if they used the actual animal to attack the Ice Warriors?
Your Majesty.
Now do you believe that Agador is with us?
Boy, the Doctor is having to kill people left and right this episode. It always looks like it hurts.
Ooh. Got him like a fish.
Yes. We'll go this way.
Where the real Agador is.
Come on.
Oh. Yeah, he might be.
Tears?
I see he just needed a minute.
I was dead.
You mean I had all that worry for nothing?
Don't sound so aggrieved. Anybody think you prefer me dead? Come on, let's go find the others.
Oh,
Like a roly-poly.
yeah.
What's happened?
Drummer's going nuts.
Bongo solo.
Oh! Oh, they can find him by scent. I love the way it lumbers around.
You stand still.
Oh, good job! Kill him! Oh no. Aw. That's the saddest death of the entire episode.
But this time, I hope that you'll stay long enough for us to show our gratitude.
No.
I shall be needing a new chancellor.
Oh, he is dead.
I had hoped.
Your Majesty,
Ambassador?
I have just heard from Federation HQ. The war is over.
Yay.
Once Eckersley and Azaxia's scheme had failed, Galaxy 5 became most anxious to negotiate a peace treaty.
That's splendid news. Splendid.
Quebec?
Your Majesty.
You're going to need new hair color if you're going to be Chancellor.
In you get, Sarah. I think it's time I took you home.
I mean, I'd hate to stand in the way of your career.
In you go.
Alrighty.
Well, very nice resolution.
Yeah. The monster of Peladon.
Turns out to be Eckersley. After
Yeah.
all. Or I guess you could say it was Azaxier.
Yeah. Or maybe the real monster was the friends we made along the way. You really should swap the two titles. Like this, I think this works better as a Curse of Peladon, because the first one is more about Agador. So, but either way, a good episode.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And again, it didn't seem to be extraneous. There didn't seem to be, in any of the 6 episodes, real padding.
Yeah.
I don't, of course, don't remember all the things from last week, but again, it's well written. It's well directed. The costumes are great. We kind of joked about, laughing about the miners' haircuts, but again, that does distinguish them from the other Peladonians who have, the very distinct, very, aristocratic type hair.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, obviously, if we were to come back, in another season and go back to Peladon again, Quebec would probably start to resemble Ortron and Hepesh from before.
Yeah.
So again, and talk about continuity, which is rare in classic Who.
Yeah.
The continuity from the first series to this one is very good, including keeping Alpha Centauri. The Ice Warriors seem to be roughly the same as we've seen them at 3 times before now.
Yes. This will be the 4th time we've seen them.
So, again, I don't know if Brian Hales was the writer of the Ice Warriors and of Peladon, but if he wasn't the Ice Warriors writer, he certainly incorporated them exactly the way they had been portrayed before.
Might have been. Here. Let me see. Let me go look. It's a little cramped in here, so it's hard to stand up. Let me see. Let's see.
Yeah. This studio is actually only about 12 feet by 12 feet.
That's Attack on Titan. That's Attack on Titan. That's Attack on Titan. That's Doctor Who. That's One Punch Man. That's Doctor Who. Here it is. Cat. Dust it off just a tad. The Ice Warriors by Brian Hales.
Cool.
So sure enough, it's his creation. That makes sense. So I would imagine he also wrote the first Peladon story as well. So the Ice Warriors, it's interesting. I wonder, because you don't really hear about them in relation to the Daleks and the Cybermen and the Master, which are kind of the big three of classic Doctor Who. Yeah. But I would wonder if fans consider the Ice Warriors to be like number 4 in the sort of hierarchy of classic Who villains.
Yeah.
It certainly takes a while for them to show up in modern Doctor Who, though. I think they show up in season 7 of modern Doctor Who, whereas the Daleks were pretty much instant, and the Cybermen as well. Took the Master a little bit longer than both of those, but within the first 3 seasons you had all 3 of those, but it took so long to get the Ice Warriors back.
Yeah.
So,
now, the Ice Warriors weren't actually in Waters of Mars, were they? It was just they were referred to.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because it was still, I guess it was still pretty early on, but it was just something that the Doctor referenced on Mars. So, you do kind of forget that they are from Mars, though. So, but yeah, so we've got the Ice Warriors coming in and setting up Martian law or martial law. So yeah, at least Martian law is a closer spelling to martial law, that specific spelling of that. So yeah, they're out here bringing in terror and everything, which is interesting. I feel like you could build on this Federation a lot more in other stories. Of course, I guess if you do that, you may be getting a little too close to the sci-fi show across the pond, yeah. But still.
But wasn't the Star Trek called the United Federation of Planets, even though they weren't referred to as the Federation?
Right.
And this is just the Federation.
Yeah, so...
but yeah, I mean, they could have called it the Confederation.
Yeah.
Or, any other variation of that word.
Right. So yeah, it's interesting having this sort of rogue group of Ice Warriors, I guess, pretending to be under the authority of the Federation. So yeah, so that was interesting, and honestly, I feel like the Ice Warriors, again, of our sort of big 4 classic villains, they're sort of the most maybe fleshed out a bit. Like, they are people, they have a society. Yeah. It's because you have the Daleks who, they don't cooperate with anyone. Obviously, they have their goals of conquering everyone. The Cybermen have converting. The Master has whatever he came up with that Tuesday. Whatever ridiculous petty scheme he has. But the Ice Warriors, I like that they are very much just a civilization. Sometimes they have bad intentions, but even then in this one, in the original Ice Warrior story, it was really just that they were trying to get back to Mars, yeah. And that was putting them in conflict with the Doctor and everything, because they were doing anything to get back to Mars, but that made it all the more dangerous. Yeah. So they had disregard for the humans that were there. So yeah, I would say the Ice Warriors are probably maybe the most fleshed out, interesting of the big 4 classic Who villains.
Yeah.
Of course, saying big 4, you kind of want to make that 5, but I have no idea who you would count as if in like a top 5 of classic Doctor Who villains.
So we really encountered anybody else who's come back more than once? Because we just got introduced to the Sontarans, and they won't be back for a while.
Right. The Sontarans, maybe, I think at some point, like, the Silurians will come back, and if you count them with the Sea Devils, I guess that could, but from what I gather, I'm pretty sure most people would separate the Silurians and the Sea Devils anyway. So, yeah.
Did the Sea Devils ever actually talk? I don't remember them doing that, whereas the Silurians were able to communicate.
I don't remember, because actually in the latest episode where they brought them back, they were talking, and it was all just normal speech. But as I was watching that episode, I was like, wait, did they talk? I can't remember, because I mean, even if they did talk, you have Roger Delgado on screen, and he's just sort of stealing the entire show, from anyone else who's there. So
it's called chewing the scenery.
Yeah, and he had a 4-course meal out of every episode he was in. So, I don't remember if they could talk. I remember them screaming when things were blowing up around them, but that was about it. So yeah, I'm not sure who else to put in the sort of number 5. Because I know we're not there yet, but we've already watched Genesis of the Daleks in our original run. I guess people might include Davros in that sort of top 5 and sort of separate him from the Daleks. I might sort of just lump him in with the Daleks just to be fair, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess Davros would probably be in that top 5. And again, I don't even know if classic fans would put the Ice Warriors in the top 5. Yeah. So let us know. What are what's the other villains we may be missing? Unless it's a villain we just haven't gotten to yet. So, could just be the Sontarans too. So, let's see. But yeah, with bringing in the Ice Warriors and everything, we had Unity on Peladon, except for Edis, but that was very interesting because with the first 3 parts, there's just this whole complicated web of everybody fighting everybody else, and how some people are neutral, some people aren't, and stuff, and they have different goals, even in people who are allied, like the Queen and Ortron. They're still sort of butting heads on a lot of things, and then all of that is pretty much laid to rest once you bring in the Ice Warriors. Yeah. So that was very, very interesting. Let's see. And then we had Azaxir, not technically representing the Federation, but yeah, that was interesting. And then Edis just again going full blown zealot, with the eyes wide and everything. Was interesting. Just willing to completely destroy the entire ruling government of Peladon. So
now, again, I know this is a minor inconsistency. And we can do this after the review here. I would like to go back to the end of part 3, because I distinctly remember the door of the refinery opening outward. Yeah. And yet after that, it all seemed to open inward.
We can look at that real quick.
Nope. We were wrong. It opened inward. All right. Sorry.
Well, it's always good to go check. So. But yeah. So. And yeah, the whole thing with the string of logic for Edis to blow up the Citadel, which that was one thing where, as I was going through, it was this isn't really a criticism, just something I noticed, is that they never talk about anything happening on the rest of the planet. It's really just concentrated at the Citadel and the mines directly below it. Yeah. So,
although at one point Eckersley did say something about putting the entire planet under his control.
Right. So, I mean, they never really talked about, if there were any other revolts across the planet. You don't need to. It doesn't, break the immersion or anything. It's just something I thought about. But Edis was definitely ready to take out the entire ruling government of Peladon, which would have gone well, I'm sure. So, and then I originally wrote down Eckersley's neutrality, but then that sort of went out the window. But yeah, it was still an interesting thing of not getting into local politics, and he's just here to do his job and stuff like that.
Yeah. But again, that's good writing and a really good acting on the part of the actor, because although we kept saying, in the first 3 episodes, whose side is he really on? And then he starts saying, no, I'm not on anybody's side. I'm really just here to do my job. And again, that allays all of your fears until finally he turns around and says, oh no, I'm here working with the Ice Warriors because when they win, when Galaxy 5 wins, I get to rule the Earth.
Yeah. So I guess the plan was Galaxy 5 will win the war, and they will install Eckersley as King of the Earth. Yeah. And I guess the Ice Warriors just, they can start claiming other planets as well. So, it's a bit strange, especially too because from the sound of it, Galaxy 5 was kind of on the backswing too. Like, you know, they weren't really doing well. They needed this stuff, but then once Eckersley and Azaxir are dead, they immediately end the war. It's like it's like it was like, okay, well, we have this plan. We are going to be, you know, given command of the United States after we back Germany at the end of World War I. Like, and then when it doesn't work, 2 hours later, Germany surrendered.
Yeah.
And it's like, that wasn't your greatest plan. They were on the backswing anyway.
Yeah, I did mention that. We were teaching World War I in my classes this week, and talking about how the United States had stayed neutral, because there was literally, at no point when that war began did most Americans think that the United States should be involved in it. And it wasn't until first the sinking of the Lusitania, but then the Zimmerman telegram, where the Germans basically said, hey, Mexico, will you invade the United States to keep them busy and prevent the war? And then when we win, we'll come down and help you take back the Mexican cession. You know, you get back Texas and New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, Utah. And it's like, what person in Germany sat there going through history books going, oh, wait, here's a way we can get the United States to stay out of the war. We'll go back to 1845 and have them refight the Mexican-American War. It's like, that's so brilliant that it's absolutely stupid.
Yeah. So, which, now that I think about it, was Mexico involved in either of the world wars?
I don't really know. I'd have to check that.
Yeah, you never really hear about it.
No.
So, I mean, if they weren't involved, probably good on them for, you know, just sort of, you know, minding their own business, I guess.
Well, again, the part of that was, again, especially in the First World War, you know, one of the reasons why the United States originally said we should stay out of this war is because there was no way we were going to get involved. You know, at that point, there was no technology for any of the combatants in Europe to get across the Atlantic Ocean to invade the United States. And there's certainly nobody going to come across the Pacific at that time. So that it really didn't matter. And so I imagine Mexico, Central America, and South America all thought the same thing. It's like, you know, we don't have a dog in this fight. Let them just do what they want to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the Second World War when we really saw the rise of this, you know, fascism and Nazism and so forth, that people said, yeah, but if Germany wins in Europe and if the fascists win, then that could conceivably come across the oceans and finally start invading us.
They'd be crazy enough to try it. So, which, yeah, I guess that's honestly the thing about the First World War is it's called the first, you know, the World War. It's not the full world, though. That gets more into World War II, where it's like, and now we've expanded.
Well, the way I explained it in my classes, it was a continental war. You know, most of the combatants involved were European, but the reason it's called a global war is because, for example, Great Britain still had the British Empire, so they were getting Canadian soldiers and probably Australian and New Zealand and soldiers from India, and Germany had colonies in Asia and in Africa, and Italy did too, and so it was where all of the soldiers from the colonies came in to help their mother countries fight, but it really was a continental war fought by international soldiers.
Yeah. It was like 75%.
Yeah.
It's like you've got Europe, you've got Asia, you've got Africa, you've got all that, and then you've got the two on the other side who are just kind of, you know, looking through the binoculars the whole time.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, we're way off the subject here, but I've always told my students when I'm teaching in Olympic years, I said, do you know what the 5 rings represent? And they'll go, like 5 sports? I went, no, they represent the 5 continents. And they all go, what? I said, well, first of all, nobody considered Antarctica a continent because it wasn't inhabited. And they said, well, there's still 6. I went, no. In, 1896, when it was first reorganized, brought back to the modern world, there was Australia, Asia, Africa, Europe, and the Americas. North and South America were considered one continent at that point. And it wasn't until we began to realize that, wait a minute, literally south of the Rio Grande, the entire culture changes. Everything north of the Rio Grande is either European, as in German, American, French. Those were the major contributors to our population. But everything south of the Rio Grande is Spanish and Portuguese.
Yeah.
There's very little of any other country anywhere in South America. So it's not that we're geographically that different. It's just that culturally we have two completely separate cultures in North and South America.
Right. Well, and even just for the while that they were all technically connected, which, I mean, you could also say that about Europe and Asia being, connected by land. But you also just have, not until technically once they draw that little line through Panama that the two are connected. But then you also have the whole thing of, well, yes, you have North America and South America. What about you just got a little bit of a buffer in between there too. Do we count that as Central America? I don't know.
Well, although it's called Central America, everything north of Panama is theoretically North America.
Yeah.
It's only when you get to, I guess, Colombia. I guess Panama connects to Colombia. But yeah, I mean, Europe and Asia continentally are one continent.
Yeah.
But again, culturally and geographically, once you get to the Ural Mountains, that's when the geography of Europe changes into the geography of Asia, as well as the culture. So that's where the Ural Mountains become the dividing line.
Right. And then there's Russia, who just sort of takes the whole gambit.
And yes, Russia is partly in Europe and partly in Asia.
Yeah.
And yes, has two different cultures. Eastern Russia is more of an Asian-oriented, if you'll pardon the pun there, an Asian heritage in Eastern Russia, whereas Western Russia is more European.
Yeah. There's a game, and we'll get back on topic at a point, by the way.
There's no guarantee of that.
Yeah, but there's actually a game on the internet called GeoGuessr, where you're basically just dropped into the middle of Google Maps, and you have to figure out where you are on Earth. And so you look around, you see if there's different clues to figure out, and one of the funniest things is when you think, okay, I think I'm in Russia. Now you have to figure out where you are in Russia, because you could either be in Moscow or Vladivostok. And if you pick one of those and it's the other side, you are so many thousands of miles off, and you don't get enough points for that.
If I recall correctly, Russia spans like 11 time zones. So it is 11 out of 24 sections of the Earth.
Yeah.
So it's, lengthwise, east-west, it's probably the largest country in terms of how much land it actually covers.
Yeah, so but I've seen GeoGuessr as a fun game. I feel like you would be good at GeoGuessr.
I need to try this game. I've never heard of it before.
I
used to be really good at Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, we could just do that we have all the equipment. We're set up right here. We could just do that as a video at some point. So, back on topic. Let's see. Not that anyone's complaining. So,
well, let's hope they're not complaining.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. At some point, someone will get tired of our tangents. But, anywho, so we had the whole thing with the Queen was going to lead pretty much in name only, which I suppose is very British as well. So,
but again, what I was kind of hoping that, because she was talking about how she was going to be there with her people. Again, that was very much the Queen Elizabeth speech there on the beach. I was hoping that at the end there that maybe she would. I mean, I realized she bit Eckersley, but I thought maybe she'd clock him or something, or stab him or do something, and she would. Therefore, everybody would go, "Wow, this woman really is a leader." Not just because she's the daughter of the previous king, but because she deserves to be the queen.
Yeah, I almost thought, too, when it's like, well, yes, we're going to fight the Ice Wars, that she was just going to grab a sword and, she's secretly been training this whole time or something. Yeah. But, so, Ortron ended up dead. That kind of sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not terrible, it doesn't really detract from the story, but for such a major character, especially in the first 3 episodes, to then just sort of die, and it's like, oh, well, I feel like we didn't get a resolution to his plot line.
And again, it was so fast. I couldn't tell. I think he was protecting her, but it still would have been nice if he could have said something before he died. Something to the effect of, always loyal to you, ma'am, or whatever. Just something that, like you said, give him a nice resolution. Because it was kind of an abrupt end to his story. Yeah,
because even in the Curse, this one's Monster. In the Curse of Peladon, even when Hepesh died. It was still a tragic moment and everything, because King Peladon, he said, is like, he has been helping me and advising me, pretty much raising me since I was a boy. Both he and the priest, I think, or the original chancellor that was there who died at the beginning. It's like, both of them have always been there for me, and now they're both gone. And you kind of would probably see the same thing from Ortron and the Queen here. So, let's see. But yeah, we had the whole thing with the deal with Galaxy 5, which, yeah, I would wonder if we would ever get anything on Galaxy 5 again, because we did have that one episode called Galaxy 4, but I don't remember if it had anything to do with where they were, because that, I don't know, it was just sort of a weird title for that. But
now, in the Daleks' master plan, wasn't there, or somewhere there has been a reference to the 10 galaxies?
Something like that, yeah. It might have been Daleks' master plan. So that could have been it, as like, we're going to conquer the 10 galaxies, starting with Earth, which was always their major problem. They always started in the wrong place. They figured out how to use the projection of Agador to their advantage, which, very large body count in this episode, I must say, and quite a number of them from the Doctor as well.
Yeah.
So, which, I mean, I get it. In this sort of situation, there's nothing you can do of like, well, do we knock them out? Do we take them prisoner? I mean, it's really just, this is what we have, and we're in this, terrible situation. But at the same time, it's kind of like there was an episode of Supergirl, actually, ironically, where they went to Mars and found the White Martians, and there's just one shot where Supergirl has this staff, and she is vaporizing White Martians left and right. She takes out like 10 of them in this like big action shot and stuff, and I just remember sitting there like, wow, Supergirl just like murdered 10 people. Like, that's kind of ridiculous, and they don't talk about that ever again. And it's like, okay, kind of weird for Supergirl to do, you know? So kind of the same with the Doctor. It's like, not that the Doctor can't kill, but there was a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of dead.
Well, again, and I guess we need the bucket to throw a couple of coins in. Mm-hmm. Again, this is just a World War II reference. Don't worry, but you don't actually have to do it.
Oh,
but, there were people who said, war is never the answer. But there comes a time when war is the only answer. When your existence is threatened by fascism, by Nazism, and they are intent on subjugating or wiping your culture out, the only way to resist is through war. So, that war should always be a last resort, but it is still the last resort. At some point, you have to say enough is enough, and we have to fight back. And I mean, that was literally one of the very first things that we did with William Hartnell. Remember with the Thals? When they went there, they said, hey, look, we understand you people are peaceful, but if you don't do something, you are all going to die. Your species will die out. And that's when, wasn't Ian that smacked the guy around or basically got him to finally realize that sometimes you have to fight. Right.
And it's sort of the same thing, because we mentioned superheroes. When a superhero is like, no, I will never kill someone. And it's like, I'm not saying you need to go around and kill everybody. You don't need to be like the Punisher. He'll just kill everybody. But there comes a time where it would probably be better. We just watched The Batman last night. They didn't really overemphasize that, but you do kind of get a hint of that, or on The Flash and stuff, where it's like, or even going back to Batman Begins, the whole, it's like, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm not going to save you.
Yeah.
Which is, that works. That does end up working for that. But then just the whole thing of you kind of look at some of these situations with the Joker, and it's like, okay, well, if you did kill him, more people would also be alive because of this. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, yes, it should be a last resort, but it shouldn't be not an option.
Yeah.
So, and I guess, honestly, if any character does sort of work with that, it is the Doctor. He will always try to find a better solution, but there comes a time where that's just where it ends up. So Except the Daleks, he will kill them without mercy.
And yet, when we watched, was it Genesis of the Daleks with Tom Baker?
Yes.
Where he has that moment where he says, do I have the right to do this?
Yeah, kill them before they even become the Daleks. So,
a lot of good food for thought in Doctor Who.
Yeah, definitely. It's not just some goofy show with big green dudes. Either big green lizard dudes or big green pickle dudes. So,
and big green fish dudes.
Yeah. A lot of green going on.
It must play well on TV.
Yeah, he's wearing green and everything. So, let's see. And then, pretty much the rest of this that I had is just, the climax of fighting with Agador, the projection at least, and then eventually using the actual Agador to defeat Eckersley. Sad though that he's dead. I hope that wasn't an endangered species. Like maybe there's somewhere else. But
baby Agadors.
Yeah, maybe they just wanted. Maybe the costume was taking up too much space, so they were like, we need to figure out a way to get rid of this costume. It's like, all right, we'll kill off the animal and stuff. Like we'll leave it open that we could come back to Peladon, but we can't keep putting Jim in this really hot costume. So. And then the last thing I wrote down is Gebek as the new Chancellor, which is interesting. And yeah, just sort of this, not only do we have the Queen who is, now going to be a true ruler and not just, the puppet for any Chancellor, but also someone who has no title, didn't come from any sort of nobility, will now help advise the Queen, which is pretty cool. So yeah, overall, the really, really good story.
Yes. Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thoroughly.
Yeah, and I know there are people who enjoy Invasion of the Dinosaurs, which it wasn't bad. It just sort of falls apart a little bit. But this, I definitely prefer to Invasion of the Dinosaurs. I also prefer it to Death to the Daleks. And yeah, this I'd probably put about on level with the Time Warrior. So yeah, good stuff. You got anything else?
Nothing. Looks like we got Planet of the Spiders.
Yes.
That sounds creepy.
Which, considering it's the 5th serial, I would say it's probably going to be the last one of the season.
Well, yeah, don't they normally go 26 episodes, and that's 21, so...
Yeah, so I'd say that's probably going to be it for the season, which, we've been kind of speculating, but this could be the end for John Pertwee, so we'll have to see.
I think I saw something recently that said he did 5 seasons. We're at the end of his 5th season, so...
Right, so... which means, at the end of all of this, we will go through all the episodes and talk about them again. And I've saved all the thumbnails and everything. All the ridiculous, stupid thumbnails I've made for this for these episodes.
Well, I hope I can remember all of these.
Yeah, it's been considerably longer, I think, than Troughton or Hartnell.
Because they only did 3 seasons each.
Yeah, and I know they might have done... It might even out to the same amount of stories, because where it's more seasons with Pertwee, it's less stories per season. But yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to see. But we'll get to that when we get to that. I already asked if you had anything else.
I got nothing.
And you got nothing. So, with all that being said, we're Alex and Nat from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around to any of those. There's a playlist for all of our Doctor Who classic reactions, as well as another playlist for all of my modern Doctor Who reactions. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check any of those out. See you guys later.